The European Union falls short of delivering its 1-2 punch to help stem the debt crisis there. Stephanie, as a buy and hold investor, long-term strategist here, where did the EU summit fall short for you?
Well, we didn't get a lot of detail, and I think the biggest issue is, we have to now wait until March, supposedly, for them to actually officially vote on this. And I think that, if history is any guide, we know these things take a lot longer. So we don't have a lot of detail. There's a lot of moving parts, and now you're waiting kind of for this date. And I think that that's what's upsetting a lot of the investors. And basically, is the size big enough to really bail out this this problem?
Now, about 8% of earnings of the S&P is generated out of Europe. 14% of U.S. exports come from Europe. About 2% of GDP. Are you going to be rebalancing or rejiggering your portfolio?
Well, I think everyone probably should have been doing that by now, just
right.
because Europe and the slowdown is not really a surprise. And I think the numbers that you cite are actually very accurate. However, there's a lot more to it, right? I mean, even DuPont, that has very little exposure to Europe, came out and lowered guidance on last week because their customers have exposure to Europe, and so it's kind of that effect. And I think that we all have to kind of just step back and say, you know what, Europe is slowing, but at the same time, Alice, you kind of can't get too negative because the U.S. is on the mend.
So then, if you weren't rejiggering your portfolio into the summit, or if you were more hopeful, what do you do now after kind of waiting for that March day now?
Oh, I think that, you just look, I don't think your strategy should change. I think you look for high quality companies. You have to have a balanced portfolio. You can't have all beta, all economically sensitive stocks, anticipating a better U.S. because obviously, again, as you point out, you have the exposure on Europe. That said, I think there are a lot of bargains on, in the industrial sector and in the energy sector. Now, I would then also say that you'd have to have some defense in your portfolio too, some with dividend yields. Heinz or an AT&T or even a Philip Morris International, I think is a name that should it come down, you could pick them up pretty cheaply.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. So those are some bargain stocks that you can look at as you kind of rejigger your portfolio after the EU summit.